Alrighty, what is up, guys? Evan Aldo here. If you enjoyed the content, leave a like and check out the Discord down below because we bring you a lot of amazing content on this channel and in Discord, me and two other pro analysts. So check that all out. This is going to be Bitcoin. Can we still break above 31K? And the answer is yes, because anything could happen. But it is a bit less likely than it was a few days ago because we're losing more ground on Ethereum. There are more bearish signs than there were. And, this is kind of the estimate here of that kind of, obviously take this with a grain of salt. I don't know exactly what's going to happen. This is just a educated guess. If we do jump up to, maybe it's 35K, 37K, there's a lot there. After that, I do think you're going to see, I don't think you're just going to go straight up to new all-time highs. I think it's going to be a bit of a roller coaster. Coming into 2024, into 2025, into at least later to middle to later 2024, similar to what we saw here before this kind of, this run up right there. And I think when we do, finally, whether it's at 37K, wherever it is, getting kind of that drop down a bit. And, this would be that map for kind of the double bottom over here. I mean, if you do cross down there, this is more of an elongated kind of version of it. I do think that you will see a run up for at least 2 or 3 months pre-halvening, and the halvening is most likely going to be around March, April of next year. So I do think when you do come down, you make that correction. It'll probably either be somewhere in the low 20s, I would think. I would think like at the kind of better case, like somewhere below maybe 22, 23. There's absolutely a possibility you could just retest the 200 weekly and you might be fine. The thing with the 200 weekly is price doesn't care about it anymore. Like the 200 weekly is just, we've just bounced around it so much here other than like where price actually cares about it and respects it back in these areas. Like no one cares about the 200 weekly anymore. It's just, price doesn't care about it. So that makes me think we could lose it potentially relatively soon, but I don't know. It currently sits at probably around 26 something, maybe up to 27K now. It moves up over time. It moves up over time, just like Bitcoin. And your 300 would be right around here. That's going to be if we do hit that in a few months, September, October, I'll talk about it in a second, but all roads typically lead to kind of September, October for a lot of the altcoins bottoming out anyway. For this right here, I mean, you still have the gap to RSIs, you got the green dot. This could play out a bit more. I mean, you absolutely could come up higher with these RSIs. Probably on your max territory, I would say, is going to be that 37, 38K area. It's going to probably be a good, a decent drop down once these do finally start to cross over. And when I see them start to, kind of cross over and come in, where would this, October, September? All roads lead to October, September. And I'll talk about that more in a second, like I mentioned. But yeah, I was watching Gareth Soloway's update video this morning. It was really good. You guys should check it out. He talked about a lot of great stuff. He was just talking about how this area is just so big for Bitcoin, that 30K area. It's like, is this time to break through and, reclaim what we lost from 2022 and 2021, or do we reject here? A little bit hard to say. Now let's look at some lower time frames a little bit to kind of see here, to kind of gouge. Let's look at the 5-day. Money flow is kind of coming up on the, coming back up on the 5-day trigger wave. I would say this is a little iffy. This could kind of tell us both cases. I mean, money flow kind of generally coming out from back there. The RSIs could start to curve down. That's bearish, but the trigger wave is really bullish. And then at the same time, money flow kind of coming back up could be bullish. So kind of neutral, doesn't tell me too much. If we move down to the 2-day here, this is where it gets a bit more of like the bearish case, in my opinion, because as this VWAP comes down, you have money flow generally coming out, and you may get a nice bearish div. We already saw it confirm on the daily, I believe. You may get a nice bearish div confirming on, I believe that would, from over here. Yeah, that would be a bearish div here, which you could see that in a day or two. A day or two start to form if we do start to come down a bit. And you're kind of losing this area. That was the daily bearish div. Now let's look at a chart with some more stuff on it and go down to some of these, these kind of time frames here. And generally what we're looking at is we're kind of in range bound. This is our local volume area low here. This is the volume area high right here. We bounced off of that low this morning, and I had Lanacor on and CBZ on yesterday on the live stream. Both are great analysts. Those are two guys I was telling you about in in the Aldo Empire Discord down below. They're always spitting out some great TA. And if we lose this area, Lanacor was saying, if we lose this area, most likely we're going to come down. That's not good, losing this area. We bounced off of it today. We tested it, so there's still hope. But if you lose that area, you're most likely, you kind of have your next technical target would be around theoretically 29.2. And then you don't have much. I mean, historical, you could probably find some support there, but recent support, you don't have much until like the previous volume area high back here at 28.7. However, you may get a trigger wave on the 10-hour pretty soon. You may get a trigger wave on the 8-hour pretty soon. That's more of the bullish case. That's absolutely more of the bullish case right here. You may get a trigger wave right there as well on the 6-hour. And you may get a bullish div pretty soon on the 3-hour and some of these lower time frames, which makes me kind of thinking we could recover at least a little bit in the short term. You bounced off of this. Last time you bounced off of this, we came up here. Sometimes in these, sideways kind of boring phases, you come down there and then you're range bound. You find a new range, and it's kind of a scalp trader's market. And that's what I'm kind of thinking right now. I do have a scalp trade in right now. But I mean, and also the other thing too, I'm not going to tell you exactly, where I entered or anything like that, but because it wouldn't be fair to the people in the premium version, the exclusive channels there. But if you look at this kind of, reverse head and shoulders necklines right here, I mean, there's a good possibility you're going to come back up to 30.4 right here in the short term. There's probably, well over a 50% chance. I'd probably give it 60, 70. I mean, you're never going to, it's not too often that you're going to get up to 90% that you think something's going to happen, but I'd give it probably 70, especially with this trigger wave right here in the 16. Things look bullish in the short term. Things look like they're going to do what they generally did back here, and we're going to come up a bit more. So the other thing too, in terms of for ETH, it was a little bit better to show you this. I mean, we do have the trend reversal on market side for B on the 2-day right there. If we were to do something like this could be a trajectory, kind of downward. I don't think we're just going to crash down like Black Swan, kind of, unpredictable event, FTX going down. But something like this is absolutely possible. I don't think it's going to be even that fast. I think it's going to take longer. Let me draw this out. I want to draw this out a little bit more extended because I think this is something that could take time. This is something that could absolutely, this is, August, a lot of roads, August, September, October, that general area. That's another road that leads to that place. And that's pretty much Bitcoin right now. I would say, more bullish in the very short term, potentially for the scalp long. And then the last thing I'll show you on Bitcoin right now is going to be this trend reversal in the 3-week. Now, this is also another thing. I know people are probably going to be like, oh, you make up your mind. You don't know what's going to happen. I don't know what's going to happen. And you don't need to know what's going to happen to make money. But what I think is very likely is alts are going to continue to bleed against Bitcoin. We'll talk about that in a second here. So if it's like this over here, you jumped up a little bit more. This would be the case for, that 37, 38K. You get the spiral line 38.9. I mean, anything can theoretically happen. You do have this area 38 would be the big point. I don't think you're getting up to 40, but if we do, that would be the big area. Once this kind of comes back down, you get the red dot in the 3-week. I think that ends a lot of the fun. Yeah, I think that ends a lot of the fun. So yeah, that's basically what I'm looking at. If you come down right now, there, and then let's see. So let's move on to Ethereum. And Ethereum, it's the same thing. You got the green dot on the weekly right here. Gapped RSIs. I think when we finally do get what could happen here, not an ETH actually, but let me show you Bitcoin. This is the last thing I forgot to show you it. You may get a bearish div on the weekly here on Bitcoin, and that's not too often you get a bearish div on the weekly on Bitcoin. I mean, look at the bullish div we got from. I mean, obviously, were these true bullish divs back? I don't remember. It was from that one right there. Just about, or no, I don't think that was. But this one, oh yeah, these weren't even true bullish divs. But when you have a true bullish div here, and if you draw it from the bottom of the wicks, that's how you get it, determine whether it's a true bullish div. Forgive me if I'm just doing this quickly because I don't want to waste time. Forgive me if some of them are true bullish divs, but this definitely, like, very easy to pinpoint true bullish div is powerful. And if you get a true bearish div up here, especially with the gap to our size to potentially start to come down, that's going to be a powerful leg down. Now, I think we bottomed out. I think most likely we bottomed out. Anything could happen, but I think most likely we bottomed out. If you factor this in for inflation, we already hit 10K in terms of buying power. I know I was more bearish in previous months talking about 12, 13K. Things change. I mean, I'm sorry, I was wrong. Look, you're not going to be right about everything. But I mean, I do think that, I mean, anything can happen. We could go lower, but I do think that most likely it's going to be somewhere between like 17, 16 to 22 as a second bottom, similar to there, and similar to that double bottom in kind of 2015, something like that. So let's move on to Ethereum now. Now, not gonna spend too much time on Ethereum. Obviously, it keeps bleeding against Bitcoin. It keeps bleeding against Bitcoin in this environment. The thing I want to show you here is this potential. Like if we look at the blue triangle, green dot right there, that was a pretty big drop down. Let's just look at this drop down right here. Now, this would be interesting because ETH versus Bitcoin, I think, I'll just show you this quickly. In the short term, we're getting all these yellow X's in the 16-hour and the 12-hour. It's usually, 5 or 4, and then you dump down a little bit more, 4 or 5, and then you dump down a bit more. Look for sell exhaustion. Sell exhaustion basically means, money flow starts to come up on this time frame, like the 12-hour or the 16-hour, money flow starts to come up, and you get some bullish divs. I don't think that's going to really happen until, it could happen now, but until you get down to kind of these points. I think that ETH is going to bleed more against Bitcoin. If it breaks out of this channel we've been in, if it generally breaks out of this channel we've been in, theoretically, from there to the bottom, you get, a technical target down here. And that's another 40% correction against Bitcoin. Now, if we dump down 40% against Bitcoin, that still could be, do the math on this if I'm wrong. I kind of was trying to mentally do the math on this, but Bitcoin could come down to 22K, which would be let's just see what 22K is from where we are. 22K would be, where's 22K? That would be around, 21, 22K, about a 27, almost 30% correction here. That, I believe, would be and then Bitcoin or Ethereum coming down 40%, more than that would be a 40% correction for Ethereum. So essentially a 40% correction for Ethereum would be, that's a 30% right there. A 40% is you're looking at 1100. I don't know if it's going to be that bad, but I think it's going to keep bleeding. And I think Ethereum, there's a good shot potentially. It probably is going to take longer than that, but potentially coming down to these areas in the next few months. I think it's going to be more of a slow bleed. Over here back in 22, there was more volatility, more people in the game, more tourists, people dumping, pumping, all that type of stuff. We're a little bit slower lately, and we were slower back in 2019 as well, the accumulation year. And if you look at this drop down, that was a slow bleed. Now, I don't think it's probably not even going to be, if we make a lower low, you absolutely could for Ethereum. It could be like something like there. That's November. I think we're going to see, generally a lot of roads point to September, October. It could be later in a bad scenario. Look at these RSIs. Let's just estimate, what would kind of happen when they come together. October, November, that area. I would probably start DCAing in September for Ethereum, or when this comes down to essentially at least starts to break below here. And I'll just show you in a second. I just want to make this more organized. At least when you start to break down to here, I'd be looking more to start DCAing in. And then as this gets into the red here, so August, September, I would probably do an 8-month period, of DCAing into Ethereum, starting to convert, converting Bitcoin over to Ethereum potentially for 8 months. Again, that's kind of how much risk, you want to take. Obviously, you would just go all Bitcoin. If you want to take the least amount of risk, you would go most amount of risk. You do all altcoins, not even Ethereum. In the middle, you'd have, some Bitcoin, some Ethereum, some altcoins, all relative, all how much risk you want to take. So, yeah. And, if we look at, so weekly looks like kind of okay. If we look at kind of the zoomed out timeframes here, trend reversal red dot, if it's, I should have removed probably some of these drawings, but sorry if that's a little too much there. But, you know, from here to there, I mean, that's that area too. So if you were to repeat something like that, again, I don't know if it's going to be that bad. It might not be that bad. I know I've said, like, you know, 600 as a possibility in the past. You do have a big spiral line there. If it's Armageddon, you know, black swan events, depression or whatever, possible. Probably worst case scenario right now, I would guess, would be around that 600 range. And that would be a almost 87% correction, so almost 90% correction. A little bit worse than Bitcoin's correction last in the last bear market, in 2018 bear market. So yeah, now let's move down, you know, a little bit more here. Let me give you a little bit of short term. So right now we're losing, so this is where it gets more bearish. This is where you're looking at potentially not, you know, because you lost the volume, you rejected from the volume area high, you couldn't break above it, you're coming back down. Now, it's not impossible to jump off of where we are right now and get a big jump up and, you know, come higher to, I don't know, 2100, you got a spiral line at 2200 if Bitcoin goes up to 37K. I think that's absolutely possible, these higher areas. But, you know, it's losing that, rejecting from that volume area high. We were in this, you know, volume area range, this new one, we're now out of it. And our technical target from that, I believe we're already a bit below it. We're hitting the point of control right now. Short term does look like we could get, you know, a jump off of here. Short term absolutely does. The hourly green dots, we're getting the jump off of here. Low time frames are good. A scalp, you know, ETH is really lagging behind Bitcoin because Bitcoin didn't break out of this range. ETH broke out of this range. Like, Ethereum's really freaking lagging behind Bitcoin right now. But short term, I do think there could be a little bit of relief here, but I think Bitcoin's going to see more of the relief. Your daily doesn't look too good. See this trend of, you know, blue triangle, green dot right down. Obviously could be different this time, but right there, that could be, you know, just like the price similar to the 2-day one. So that October area in 2022. The other thing too, for getting into, yeah, that trajectory downward, oh really, here I should draw it. The other thing too is for getting into Bitcoin, look at where it bottomed last time. This was September 19. I mean, history doesn't always repeat, but things in crypto do repeat more than many would think. You know, you keep coming down here for Bitcoin ETH, where would it bottom, you know, against Bitcoin? If it's like that, you could see a big drop down. You know, you break out of that, you've been decoiling up for so long, a big drop down into September. That'd be nice. Only a few more months to kind of wait, and then you could hit the bottom there. That would be beautiful. Maybe start DCAing in August or something if you're starting to get close. And, you know, that would be a big place to look right there. Now, moving on to when, you know, getting into altcoins or whatever. This is total 3. This is the total crypto market cap minus Bitcoin and Ethereum versus Bitcoin. It has bled against Bitcoin since December of 2022 by a lot. You know, almost 50%. So, and I think a lot of these could come down, you know, even more. I think this is definitely going to get into the red here. I think this may get even deep in the red sometime in September, October, based on the way I'm looking at it right there. If we look at, I believe, the weekly here, probably not. So you want to see the money flow starting to come up with the bullish div for a bottom. You know, here it was the snake eyes. That was pretty good. That gave you that bottom. I mean, you did make a lower bottom in 2021, but a lot of the altcoins did bottom against Bitcoin back here, at least a lot of the ones that did well and made new all-time highs in the next bull run. That's kind of the thing here. I mean, if you're buying a lot of altcoins, you got to make, I'm more, you know, I'm going to be very light in Bitcoin when the time is right, but I'm going to be very heavy in Ethereum, and I'm still going to have a lot of altcoins, but, you know, it's going to be primarily Ethereum because I view that as a blue chip. I don't really view, you know, anything else other than Ethereum and Bitcoin that I could be 100% sure on. So you got to realize, you know, Cardano and a lot of things bottomed out against Bitcoin here, the ones that did very well in the last bull run, but a lot of other ones bottomed back here, and a lot of ones never came back to their all-time highs. That's what you got to be careful with. Now, I'm not saying, you know, I know a lot of people like Solana, they like Matic, they like, you know, Cardano, they like AVAX, and I'm not saying I don't like any of those. I'm not saying, you know, they won't make new all-time highs, but it's possible some of them won't. It's possible some of them won't. So that's, you gotta realize that too. I mean, the only one that I'm pretty confident that will, make new all-time highs and do very well next bull run as an altcoin is Ethereum. I know some of them will, some of the other altcoins will, but we know that not all of them will. You know what I'm saying? We know not all of them will. We know some of them will, but not all of them. So, but in terms of altcoins, in general, ones that, have good fundamentals, diversified portfolio, when you come down and look at hike and ashy candles, especially in the 2-week, when these start to turn green, I think it's going to be an excellent place. Because now it's just free falling. I don't think it's going to turn green at least for another month or two here. It's probably where we're gonna get there. And yeah, that's what we're looking at. So the road here ended in September. The road here may do the same thing, ends in September or October. So that's what I'm looking at. Now, let's move on to Bitcoin dominance just quickly. Breaking up, you got a technical target up here from this, channel at 56%. That's a big thing. Money flow still coming up on the 2-week. RSIs are pretty gapped. So when I do think, when this finally does play out and come down, I think it's going to be pretty significant. But look right here, like they were gapped. All roads lead to September. That was when a lot of, Bitcoin dominance topped out and a lot of altcoins bottomed out against Bitcoin right here. This one proved not to be it. It could be the next red dot here, depending, if we just come up really quick, or it could be the one after. But I don't know. A lot of smart people are saying 60%. It's also a Wyckoff accumulation thing too, with the technical target at 60%. I think you're at least going to get up to 56 here. I don't know if you're going to get that high to 60. I think 56 is going to be fine for starting to DCA into Ethereum. I think that's going to be an excellent place, in my opinion. Could be wrong, but that's my opinion. Now, if we look at the DXY, somewhat of a reverse head and shoulders forming. Powell came out, said we may have back-to-back rate hikes in July and August. That sounds pretty hawkish. I mean, that's theoretically bullish for the dollar. If you break upward out of this reverse head and shoulders, 106 would be your big point. If you come down in traditional markets and crypto, 106 would be very likely. Now, you had a trigger wave to the downside here. We kind of dodged that bullet. a little bit. You didn't confirm as a blood diamond. I'm not saying that Dixie isn't in trouble. It still is, but I do think you may have some upside, especially if we get another trigger wave. If we get a trigger wave to the upside here, that may, especially with this bull, I believe this is a bull div. Especially with this bull div, that could start to play out and we might be okay. 2-day coming up, trigger wave on the 2-day, so we might be good for the Dixie. This may jump up. I mean, we've been sideways for a while. This could jump up quick here. And I know Gareth Soloway was talking about the VIX being very, very low, and that's a good catch. Like, that's a really good catch. I mean, we're due for some volatility in traditional markets. And I'm not saying it can't go lower, but historically very low levels. We're due to get some volatility here. So that's what I'm looking at right now. That's pretty much all I got for you guys right now. Hope you enjoyed the update. Hope you guys have an excellent day. Check out the Discord down below. Also check out FAIRDESK. One person who signs up and deposits any amount within the next few days, it says when it ends down below, I believe, will get a $100 bonus. So check that out. We're also doing a trading competition with MEXC that ends really soon. So check it out. Link down below. 0 limit fees on MEXC with my link. So check that out. Hope you have a good one, guys. Goodbye.